In the ashes of a ruined village, where hope is fading and hunger gnaws at every soul, one young woman stumbles upon a wounded being from the stars, an alien guardian in the shape of a dragon, dying yet defiant. With nothing left but a single crust of bread, she must choose between survival and sacrifice, never knowing that this choice will decide the fate of her people forever. If you are new to the channel, then please subscribe to the channel and like the video, and tell us in the comments where are you watching from. Now, let's jump into the story. The Valley of Green Hollow had once been a place of quiet fields and golden harvests. Farmers used to rise before the sun, their laughter carrying through the orchards, their children running barefoot along dirt paths. But those memories now felt like dreams. The Sarnex raiders had swept through the skies with their dark ships, and the valley had been reduced to ruin. Homes were broken, barns lay empty, and hunger gnawed at the hearts of the people. Lyra Dawson walked the edge of the shattered fields, her steps slow and heavy. She was only 25, but hardship had carved deep lines into her face. Her family's farm was gone, consumed in the fires of the first attack. She had not eaten in 3 days. The only thing left was a single crust of bread wrapped in a strip of cloth she carried close to her chest. The crust was dry, almost stone-like, and would not fill her stomach. But it was all she had. She thought of the other villagers hiding in the caves beyond the ridge, waiting for someone to return with news of food or supplies. Children cried through the night, their thin voices echoing off the rock walls. Green Hollow had little time left before the people faded away from hunger. The morning air was sharp with the scent of ash. The once green land stretched before her in silence, broken only by the blackened skeletons of trees. Lyra pulled her cloak tighter, though it did little to block the cold. Every breath tasted of smoke and metal, reminders of the weapons that had fallen from the Sarnex war machines. She remembered when she first saw their ships. The sky had darkened as if a storm was coming, but the clouds were steel, and they moved with precision. Beams of light cut through the fields, and within minutes, everything was burning. The Sarnex did not speak, did not demand, did not warn. They destroyed, and then they moved on. Lyra's boots crunched softly against the broken road. She kept to the shadows of the forest where the trees still stood, though scarred and twisted. She searched for anything useful. A grain sack left behind, a forgotten basket of apples, even herbs that might ease the hunger pains of the sick. But everywhere she looked, she found only scraps of what once had been. Her stomach twisted, but she ignored it. She thought instead of the villagers she had left behind. There was Tomas, who had once been the smith's apprentice, now limping from an injury he received when a wall collapsed. There was an old woman named Mira, who had lost her entire family, yet still tried to comfort the children. Lyra had promised them she would search, even if she had to walk alone. She pressed her hand against the cloth bundle in her pocket. That small crust of bread could quiet her hunger for a few hours. Yet she could not bring herself to eat it. Not yet. Perhaps it could be given to a child. Perhaps it would be needed for someone weaker than her. A sudden sound made her stop. It was faint, almost hidden beneath the rustle of leaves, but it did not belong to the forest. It was a low, strange hum, uneven and broken, like the heartbeat of some great wounded creature. Lyra crouched low, her eyes sweeping the shadows. The forest path bent ahead, leading deeper into the unknown. Her pulse quickened. She thought of turning back, but her feet carried her forward. The sound grew clear. Layered with something else, a faint shimmer, like liquid striking stone. She reached a place where the trees opened into a small clearing. At its center, sprawled upon the earth, was a shape that stole her breath away. It was not human. The creature's body glowed faintly, scales shifting in color as if catching light from unseen stars. Blues melted into purples, purples into greens, the colors moving like water. Its chest rose and fell with effort, each breath sounding like thunder muffled beneath the earth. And from its side, a wound leaked iridescent fluid that shone brighter than fireflies in the night. Lyra froze at the edge of the clearing. Every story she had ever heard as a child returned in that instant, tales of guardians who had once walked the world in the form of great beasts, beings said to rise when darkness threatened humanity. She had thought those tales were only bedtime stories told by elders to chase away fear. The creature lifted its head slightly, its eyes glowing with the same shifting light as its blood. They locked onto her, unblinking, filled with a depth of intelligence that left her unable to move. For a moment, neither of them stirred. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath. Her fingers brushed the cloth bundle in her pocket. The crust of bread pressed against her palm, small and insignificant, but it was all she had. The creature shuddered, its body straining to rise but collapsing again into the grass. Its eyes remained fixed on her, not with rage, not with hunger, but with something she could only describe as sorrow. Lyra's heart pounded. Fear urged her to flee, but compassion rooted her to the ground. Slowly, she stepped forward, and the last piece of bread became more than food. It became a choice. The forest clearing was still, as if the world itself was waiting. Lyra stood with her hand pressed to the cloth bundle in her pocket, her breath shallow and uncertain. Before her lay the wounded, its scales shimmering faintly as though it carried the colors of the night sky within its skin. It did not lunge. It did not roar. Instead, its glowing eyes followed her every movement with patience, as though it understood the choice she faced. She unwrapped the cloth slowly, revealing the last crust of bread she had guarded for days. It looked pitiful in her palm, nothing more than a scrap. Yet when she held it out, the creature's gaze seemed to brighten. Her voice trembled as she spoke, though she was not sure the creature could understand. "It isn't much, but it's all I have. If it can help, take it." The dragon-like being tilted its head. Then, in a sound unlike any she had heard before, a harmony rose from its chest. It was not speech, yet it carried meaning that resonated inside her bones. She felt the word rather than heard it. Sarenvale. She blinked in surprise. The name echoed through her mind, strong and clear. She realized then that it was not simply S, but thought itself, reaching into her. "You can speak?" she whispered. The being's crest shimmered faintly, its tone vibrating through the air. "Not as you do," came the reply within her thoughts, "but we can share understanding." Lyra took a cautious step forward, the bread trembling in her hand. She could feel the heat radiating from the creature's body, a warmth that was alive yet strained by pain. The wound along its side pulsed with light, leaking more of that strange fluid onto the forest floor. "You're hurt," she said softly. "They did this to you, didn't they? The Sarnex." The creature lowered its head, its gaze never leaving hers. "Old enemies," the thought rippled. Their weapons burned deep. Lyra's throat tightened. In that moment, she no longer saw a monster. She saw a fellow fighter, another victim of the same enemy that had torn her home apart. She stepped closer until she stood only a few feet away. With shaking hands, she offered the crust of bread. Sarenvale extended a limb, clawed yet careful, and accepted the gift. Its mouth opened, showing not rows of jagged teeth, but shifting patterns of crystalline structures. The bread disappeared, and for a moment the glow in its eyes brightened. Lyra exhaled in relief. The act felt small, almost meaningless, yet it was enough to bridge a silence between them. Then Sarenvale's voice returned within her. "You show kindness, though you are hungry too. Why?" Lyra hesitated, but her answer was simple. "Because you're fighting them. That makes you an ally. My people have little left, but if this helps you heal, then it's worth it." For a long moment, the creature studied her. Its eyes were like mirrors of the stars, deep and endless. Then its crest pulsed with light, and the voice inside her grew stronger. "There is a way. I can recover faster, but not alone. I need connection. I need to share strength." She frowned. "Connection? I don't understand." Sarenvale shifted, wincing as its wound flared with energy. "My kind can form bonds with compatible beings. It allows us to heal quickly. Energy flows between us. Memory flows too. It is not done lightly, but it may save us both." Lyra's pulse quickened. The idea frightened her, the thought of allowing something alien into her very mind. "Would it hurt?" she asked. "No," came the answer. "But you would see parts of me. I would see parts of you. For a time we would not be separate." The words settled heavy in the clearing. She thought of the caves filled with the hungry and the wounded. She thought of Taunus, of Mira, of the children crying in the dark. She thought of her parents, long gone, and how they had taught her that kindness was never wasted. She straightened her shoulders. "If it helps you heal faster, I'll do it. My village doesn't have time. If this bond saves them, then I'm willing." Sarenvale's eyes glowed brighter, a soft radiance spreading across its body. "You are certain?" "I have nothing to lose," Lyra said, "and everything to protect." The creature's voice hummed deep in her chest, carrying approval. "Then come closer." She stepped forward until she could feel the faint vibration of its breath against her skin. Sarenvale lowered its head, revealing the crystal-like ridges that crowned its skull. "Place your hands here," the thought guided her. Her palms trembled as she pressed them against the warm, vibrating surface. It was not stone, not scale, but something that seemed alive and shifting, solid yet flowing like liquid beneath her touch. "Close your eyes," Sarenvale instructed. "Open your mind." Lyra obeyed and the world shifted. At first there was nothing but darkness. Then light erupted, streams of color, stars blooming like flowers in an endless sky. She felt herself soaring, weightless, across galaxies she had never known. She saw battles fought in distant worlds, guardians rising like storms against the Sarnex. And then she felt her own memories pulled gently forward. Her childhood, her laughter with friends, her tears when the raiders came. She felt the creature experience them, and for the first time, she was not alone in her grief. The bond tightened, neither frightening nor painful, but strangely comforting. It was as if two lives were weaving together for a single purpose. When Lyra opened her eyes again, she was still in the clearing, but Sarenvale's glow was brighter, his breath steadier, his wound already closing faintly at the edges. The bond of trust had been formed, and the fate of Green Hollow had just changed. The clearing was filled with light as the bond settled between Lyra and Sarenvale. It was not a rope, not a chain, but a living bridge of energy that pulsed gently in her chest. She could feel the creature's heartbeat as if it were her own, slow and powerful, echoing through her body. When she closed her eyes, visions unfolded again. This time they were sharper, clearer, and more alive. She saw through Sarenvale's memories, vast star fields stretching forever, worlds painted with colors no human had ever named. There were ancient battles in the silence of space. ships and guardians colliding against the Sarnax Empire in wars that had lasted for millennia. She gasped softly, her breath catching as one memory rose stronger than the others. She felt the heat of a burning world where guardians like Sarenvale stood in rows, their wings of light stretching across the sky. They fought to protect a civilization not unlike her own, people who farmed and sang, who lived in peace before the Sarnax came. Though the Guardians had fought bravely, only a few survived. Sarenvale was among those who carried the grief of countless lost worlds. Her heart ached as the memory dissolved. "You've been fighting them forever," she whispered. The voice resonated in her chest. "Yes, every world matters. Yours is not the first, but it must not be the next to fall." Tears stung her eyes. She had thought of the Sarnax as enemies who had destroyed her home, but now she understood they were part of a much greater darkness. Green Hollow was only one piece of their endless hunger. Then the vision shifted, and she felt her own memories rising forward, as though the bond demanded balance. She saw her childhood through Sarenvale's eyes, her father teaching her how to plant seeds, her mother singing to her in the farmhouse at night. She felt the Guardian experience the warmth of those moments, and a faint glow pulsed from his wounded chest as if her love for her family gave him strength. Her breath caught again as darker memories rose. The attack on Green Hollow, the screams, the flames, the moment she stood in the ruins holding nothing but the last piece of bread. She wanted to turn away, ashamed of her fear and grief, but Sarenvale did not recoil. Instead, she felt something like comfort, a presence wrapping around those painful memories as if to say, "You are not weak." The forest around them seemed brighter, the trees humming faintly with energy from their connection. Lyra opened her eyes, and for the first time, she noticed the change in Sarenvale. The wound in his side no longer bled so heavily. The crystalline edges of his crest glowed brighter, steady, and warm. The bond was healing him, and in turn, she felt stronger than she had in years. She stood taller, her body filled with a strange energy. Her hunger remained, but the pain of it dulled, replaced by a quiet strength that carried her forward. Sarenvale lowered his head close to hers, his voice softer now. "Your courage is rare. Your memories carry resilience. It fuels me." She reached out a hand, resting it against his scales. "We need each other," she said. "My people can't survive without help, and maybe you can't heal without me." The Guardian's eyes glowed with deep understanding. "Together," came the thought. "Together we endure." Before Lyra could answer, a sound shattered the calm of the clearing. Branches cracked, and hurried footsteps pounded through the forest. She turned to see Tomas, the smith's apprentice, staggering into the open. His clothes were torn, his face streaked with sweat and soot. "Lyra!" he shouted, his voice raw with panic. "They're coming! The Sarnax ships are circling back, straight for Green Hollow. They'll be here within the hour." Her stomach twisted, fear rushing back into her chest. She had seen what those ships could do. The village had no weapons, no defenses. This time there would be nothing left. She turned back to Sarenvale, her eyes pleading. "You heard him. They'll destroy everything. Can you fight?" The Guardian's crest dimmed slightly, his wound still glowing though less severe than before. "Not fully healed, but with the bond, perhaps enough." Thomas stared at the creature, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Lyra, what is this? What have you done?" She placed a steady hand on his arm. "This is our only chance. Sarenvale isn't our enemy. He's been fighting the Sarnax longer than we've even existed, and now he's with us." Thomas shook his head, still in shock, but he said nothing more. His eyes lingered on the glowing beast, torn between fear and hope. Sarenvale shifted his body, slowly rising to his full height. His wings flickered in and out of reality, leaving ghostly trails in the air. The earth trembled faintly beneath his claws. Lyra felt his strength through the bond, surging like a current into her veins. Yet she also sensed his weakness, the pain that still lingered beneath the surface. It would take everything they had to stand against the coming attack. Her voice was steady, though her heart raced. "Then we fight. Green Hollow won't fall today." Sarenvale's eyes locked onto hers. And for a moment, she felt the weight of ages, of battles fought across the stars. Then his thought echoed through her mind, clear and resolute. "Together we will rise." The bond flared brighter, filling the clearing with light. And with the enemy drawing near, Lyra knew the true battle was only beginning. The sky above Green Hollow darkened as the Sarnex ships appeared, their metallic hulls glinting like blades against the fading light. Engines roared in the distance, a steady hum that grew louder. Every breath filled the air with a deep, steady hum that made even the frightened villagers turn their heads in awe. Tomas stumbled forward, still pale from the sight of the Guardian. "They're coming fast," he warned. "We have minutes." Lyra nodded, her heart pounding. She looked up at Sarenvale, whose wings flickered in and out of reality, glowing like threads of starlight. "We can't run," she whispered. "We stand here together." The Guardian lowered his head, his glowing eyes fixing on hers. His voice resonated inside her chest, strong and calm. "Through your trust, I have strength. Through my vow, your people will live." The hum of the ships turned into a shriek as beams of light burst through the clouds. The Sarnex warcraft descended, sleek and merciless, weapons already charging. The villagers screamed and ducked for cover, but Lyra did not move. The bond with Sarenvale surged like fire through her veins, filling her with courage she had never known. "Rise," Sarenvale whispered within her mind. And he did. With a single powerful leap, Sarenvale launched into the air, his wings blazing with radiant energy. The sky lit up with trails of light as he soared higher, his body glowing like a living star. The Sarnex ships adjusted their course, focusing on him, but for the first time in countless years, Green Hollow had a defender. The first beam of enemy fire streaked toward the village. Sarenvale twisted in midair, his body moving with impossible grace. From his crest erupted a burst of crystalline energy, colliding with the beam and shattering it into harmless fragments of light. The villagers gasped, their fear giving way to astonishment. Lyra felt every strike through the bond, the strain, the pain, but also the determination. She closed her eyes, standing firm, whispering words only he could hear. "You're not alone. Keep fighting. I'm with you." The battle raged above. Sarenvale released arcs of radiant energy that struck the ships, tearing through their dark hulls. Explosions rocked the sky, but still the raiders pressed on, more ships descending with their engines howling. The ground shook as debris rained down, scattering sparks across the ruined fields. Yet Sarenvale did not falter. His vow echoed in Lyra's chest with every strike. Protect, endure, defend. She felt his memories rising again. Battles lost, allies fallen, worlds consumed by the Sarnex Empire. But this time, there was something different. This time, he was not fighting alone. At last, the largest of the ships descended, casting a shadow that covered the entire valley. Its weapons glowed brighter than the sun, ready to reduce Green Hollow to ash. The villagers cried out, their voices breaking with despair, but Sarenvale rose higher, his wings stretched wide, light pouring from every scale. Lyra gasped as she felt the bond surge to its peak. Her memories, her love for her people, her grief and hope all flowed into him. His power multiplied, blazing brighter than the weapons aimed at them. With a roar that shook the heavens, Sarenvale released a torrent of energy unlike anything Lyra had seen. Beams of crystalline light cascaded across the sky, striking the massive ship with blinding force. Metal screamed as the vessel split apart, flames bursting from its core before it collapsed in a thunderous explosion. The remaining raiders turned, their engines screaming as they fled into the clouds, leaving behind the wreckage of their defeat. The sky cleared, the hum of engines fading until only silence remained. Sarenvale descended slowly, his wings folding as he landed at the edge of the village. His body trembled with exhaustion, his wounds still glowing, but his eyes were steady, fixed on Lyra. She stepped forward, her voice trembling with awe. "You saved us." The Guardian lowered his head, his voice echoing inside her mind. "Not alone. Your courage became my strength. Your trust became my healing. Together we turned despair into hope." The villagers gathered, their fear replaced by wonder. For the first time since the invasion began, they saw a future that was not ruled by fear. Sarenvale lifted his crest, and from it fell shards of glowing crystal that embedded themselves in the ground. The soil shimmered as the shards grew into tall, radiant spires, forming a circle of light around Green Hollow. The spires pulsed softly, a living barrier, a promise of protection. Lyra reached out, resting her hand against his scales. "What is this?" His voice was steady, filled with quiet power. "My vow. As long as these spires shine, no enemy will pass. I am bound to this place, to you and to your people." Tears filled her eyes, not from grief, but from hope. For the first time since the skies had darkened, she believed Green Hollow might endure. Sarenvale's body glowed faintly, his strength waning, but his vow remained unbroken. The spires pulsed like beating hearts, and the villagers bowed their heads in gratitude. The bond between Lyra and the Guardian did not fade. It lingered, a reminder that even in the darkest times, compassion could spark a power strong enough to change destiny. And so, Green Hollow stood beneath the watchful eyes of its guardian, forever protected by the vow born from a single act of kindness and trust.